Browns back on the practice field today, and Mary Kay, a few more guys back on the practice field with them as they completed their practice squad, and some familiar faces in the mix. Much to Browns fans' excitement, Austin Watkins among those familiar faces brought back on the practice squad, as you've been saying would happen. But again, just bringing some guys back. No one got claimed that they cut, so they have the opportunity to bring back him, Isaiah Thomas, and a few others on the practice squad.
Yeah, one player that did not show up back here was Cade York. They tried to sign him to the practice squad, but he opted to sign with the Titans practice squad instead. And I think everyone around here kind of agrees that a change of scenery was probably good for Cade York, or at least they understand the fact that he wanted a change of scenery. So he wasn't one of the guys signed back to the practice squad. As you mentioned, Austin Watkins was, and we know how Browns fans feel about Austin Watkins, so he will be here practicing every day and trying to get himself up on that 53 one of these days. Isaiah Thomas is back, the defensive end, and a number of other guys.
Yeah, we tried to talk ourselves into how the Cade York situation could play out with him on the practice squad on our podcast on Tuesday, but Ashley, I think it is probably a good thing that Cade's going to get a change of scenery.
I do too. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what he needs in order to, have the ability to reach his potential as an NFL kicker. I think it was just time. I wrote this the other day. I think maybe in hindsight, it's crazy to say, but maybe that 58-yard kick he made in the game one last year against the Carolina Panthers to win that game might have been one of the worst things to happen to him, because expectations were just so high that with every miss kicked, it felt like they got even more high. So I'll be really curious to see what he does, but I do think even if the Browns wanted him back, I think it was understandable they wanted him back, but I think it's also understandable that Cade just needed to go someplace new.
Now, we did get to meet the new kicker today, Dustin Hopkins, and speaking of a guy that's had a rough go of it, just bad luck. Last year, after it seemed like he had found another home in Los Angeles, he kicks a game-winning kick in overtime with an injured hamstring. It ends up landing him on IR eventually. Cameron Dicker comes to town, then Cameron Dicker beats him out for the job this year. So now Mary Kay, Dustin Hopkins is here in Cleveland, and he seems excited to have the opportunity to kick for a team with pretty high expectations.
Yeah, he's really, really grateful to be here. He understands the challenges of kicking in Cleveland Browns Stadium. He's a 10th-year pro, so he knows exactly what it's like to kick here. He has kicked here before, and he's kicked in adverse conditions in other cities as well. So he should be okay with that. And then I also asked him about getting up to speed for that opener by September 10th. Because he's been around so much, he's used to adjusting to a new snap-hold sequence, and he feels he'll be ready to roll.
Hey, speaking of the opener, Joe Burrow was back on the practice field today. So, Ashley, look, Kevin Stefanski was asked if he expects to face Joe Burrow week one. This is an exact quote. He said yes. Joe Burrow's back.
Joe Burrow's back. I mean, I think we kind of felt like things were probably trending this way, and now to see him obviously back out there at practice, probably safe to say the Browns are going to see the typical Bengals. I mean, last time they saw them, obviously there were some injuries to that Bengals team, particularly amongst the pass catchers, which fans may remember. So I think it sounds like since he's going to be pretty close to full strength for that season opener.
And, of course, that will be the first time that we see Deshaun Watson as the full-time starter for the Browns, Mary Kay. I mean, look, we all wanted it to be Burrow versus Watson.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And now it will be that. And it will be a sneak preview of what this AFC North battle is going to look like for the next probably 4, 5, 6 years, however long. And Deshaun Watson got back out onto the practice field today after being sick yesterday. So him and Elijah Moore were back out there. I snapped a little video of Deshaun completing a long ball to Marquise Goodwin. So things are getting back to normal.
Yeah, and Elijah Moore taking some running back reps before he went over and worked with the receiver. So it was good to see both of those guys back on the field about a week and a half out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, once again, you're kind of just reminded in little moments like that of what Elijah Moore can do for you, the kind of versatility that he can provide. And, I mean, I wonder sometimes if they will rely too much on him. I think that's one of my biggest questions going into the season, but there's no denying that he is special in that regard.
Okay, it's a little chilly out here today. The Browns and Bengals game is getting closer. It's weird. I'm in a hoodie. It's starting to feel like fall here. We'll cover everything leading up to that game. Of course, everything that happened here today at cleveland.com/Browns.